What is going on, everybody? I think we are live. I have no way of knowing, but hopefully, I will see it in this YouTube window here shortly that you guys can see me. So glad you are here. We are so excited to actually get to interact with you guys for the first time over a nice, cool live stream. 100 viewers, motherfuckers. We have done it. Phil, how are you feeling, my man?
I feel good. I didn't think we'd get to 100 this quickly, but you know, I we have a great community, and I think it's awesome that we are able to talk about 40K this much. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it is very, very exciting. I mean, we've been at this, what, like 6, 7 weeks now, I think, and we've already hit 100. Very, very awesome. Great feedback from the community. We are so excited to keep bringing more great content to y'all. Phil, what do you want to talk about first on the old live stream today?
Well, let me just double check.
What are we double checking? I'm just
I'm just
gonna,
making.
I'm a vamp. Oh shit. I do see that we do have Big Six. Our buddy Ryan has officially commented. We do know people are here now. It is not just us. That is good news. This is our first time, so we're not 100% sure what we're doing, but we feel like we're killing it regardless. So yeah. We are just gonna field some questions, I think, today. Maybe talk about some topics that have maybe caught our eye since the data slate dropped. And oof, man, it's I don't know. I'm so excited still. I can't get over how cool all the new detachments are. Um, whew, man, Phil, I know the answer to this, but what is your favorite one that dropped?
Favorite one is in like I would enjoy, or just favorite one is in like this is the best one.
You interpret it however you want to interpret it, Phil. I know 100% it's the custodes, but I'm
It
still gonna
is.
ask.
Yeah, it's definitely the Custodes one. I think it's great. I think it's so good. It's definitely what I want to play. So I can definitely appreciate it for that. But I can say without a doubt that that new orc detachment is going to be it's like so I was talking with a few guys. I went up to Denver today to get some prep games in, and I was talking to a few guys up there and like talking about the new Iniad detachment, devoted to Iniad, and kind of explaining like how good I think it is. But I think that is a higher skill level detachment than the Orc one is, the Mordaka, right? So, like, in terms of people trying to play it and stuff like that, we have a few Dark Eldar players in our community that thankfully have the experience with those units, and it has translated to, like, really good play out of that detachment. The problem is, if you're trying to pick up that detachment for the first time and you don't have the skills there, you're going to get beat on because Eldar, like as a whole, they are not tough bodies. They are very, very soft, very, very pliable, and they die real easy if you put them in the wrong position. So um, that more Daka detachment, Orcs already has a huge player base, and if you just tell them like, hey, just run 30 Ludas and trucks and run flash kits and stuff like that, like people are going to jump all over it. So I'm I know the Ennead detachment is better. I know it has better tools. I know it has better skill ceiling. I can confidently say those things because I've seen it on the board.
Mhm.
Problem is that orc detachment is going to be like a bottom table, mid table, top table menace, like all
Yeah.
the way through. It is not a meta menace in the sense that it's going to dominate just one part of the game. It is going to make a lot of people feel real bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, you can still have a ton of skill expression, and it will definitely help you. But the floor on that detachment is so high as far as just being overly powerful that you can pick it up and you can do very well. Whereas opposed to Iniad, as you're
Yeah.
saying, man, you need to know, you have to know some of those lines of play and where you need to be staging and when you're going to move what. Because yes, it is still very easy to kill Eldar models. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah. Anything else that you feel like is really, really going to maybe catch people off guard? Coming up for RMO, any detachments or maybe like things in certain players in the area's hands that you're going to be like, if you find yourself up against this, beware.
Yeah, I think Chaos Demons are that. Yeah, I think Chaos Demons are that like be afraid kind of thing because we have a few very good Chaos Demons players. The one that stands out to me, well, there's probably two or three, but the one that I know from firsthand experience is Patrick Love. Um, he and I have gone back and forth a few times in terms of playing games, and he is an incredibly efficient demon player. That is his main army, and Patrick as a whole is incredibly talented, and his like the tools that that detachment has in his hands, I think is probably really scary. Like I think it's going to catch some people. I think it's going to cause some issues for some people that have never played Patrick or honestly played this new Demons detachment. So we had this before we went into um, the Denver Open, right? That was right after Grotmus, and it was like Grotmus, and then we had the Denver Open, which was nobody had experience going into the new detachments. Nobody had experience with enough games to develop a game plan or do something like that. And without doing those things, there were surprises in those games where you're like, oh, I didn't plan for that to happen, or I didn't expect that to happen, and it catches you out. This new Chaos Demon detachment will catch you out. The first time you see a Bloodthirster disappear after it mauls one of your units, and then you can't interact with it, is just going to like open your eyes to a problem that is just like you have to list build that problem away. You cannot just expect that problem to just like never happen. You have to have some kind of a solution for it. So for you, it's 12 Bolgren maybe, because you can't
Maybe, dude.
heroically intervene with a tank.
Yeah. Yeah, oh man, yeah, legitimately that has been my struggle for like the past 3 days. I've been looking at a couple of lists. Krieg engineers are dead. I'm just not taking them. Scions, even if I need a scoring unit, I'm gonna spend extra points for like Gaunt's Ghost now. I think. Trying to answer that exact problem, whether I can get away with 6 Bullgren or 12, has been a huge problem for me like the past 3 days since we've been going over stuff, and I still don't know what I'm gonna do. Because quite frankly, do I take the extra units to better, go into Eldar and things of that nature, or do I take more Bulgrin who can still handle some of the melee pressure we're definitely going to see, and actually have a response for sure by having 2 units that I can deal with that specific scenario? It's man, that has been the question for me, for sure.
What? Okay, so let's just do some math real quick because that new Bloodthirster, like, can it kill a full squad of Bulgren? It can't, right?
But that's the thing, right? It still has to be able to kill whatever it charged initially and the Bulgrin. And
Yeah,
that's
so
the
it's
break
got
point, right?
how many wounds are Bulgren? They're
3 wounds
three.
apiece, -1 to damage.
Okay,
4 up
so
invuln.
four pinball. Okay, so he probably does the sweep to ignore the -1 damage because it's got 16 attacks. Strength 8, -2, 1 damage. Does that wound on threes?
Wounds on 3s and hits on 2s, I assume.
Yeah, hits on twos.
Yep.
And then 8d6 for each 4 up deals a mortal wound. So potentially 4 mortal wounds at the end that you can't get around. So you're losing 1 Bulgrin no matter what. And then the Great Axe probably does the strike because it's d6 plus 2 damage. 7 attacks, strength 16, -4, d6 plus 2. Man, I don't know how. Like, if he charges even into, I would say maybe the only thing that survives is like a Rogel Dorn and then a squad of Bulgrins, maybe. Because if it's just a
I know. I
Chimera.
have to. Yeah, I know. Even with the sweep into a Torox, he's wounding on 4s, right? And he can just split some of those into the Bulgrin.
Yeah.
Like it is close. Like but that's the thing, right? I have to just have enough wounds that if he's splitting attacks, the chances he kills both are next to none. That's the goal, right? And that's a lot of fucking attacks.
Or, hear me out, you could just be happy with the fact that, like, he just kills that one unit. He kills one unit and disappears, but he's never going to kill more than one unit. Because if you heroic with another, and he's 2-for-1ing you every time he goes into you, is that better or worse? That might just be worse.
I mean, I feel like we're really situationally dependent on that specific question, right? Like, oh man, if I can deal with him early and there's not a bunch of other things I need to kill, I think a heroic is great, right? Like, just get it done, get it dealt with. It's gonna cost me more, but if I am just having to try to screen out a unit that flies across the board and over my screens, I'm going to have to be sitting on my backline an entire game if I'm trying to ignore it with all of my tanks.
Well, I'm not even saying ignore it. Just, like, put your screens in front. He's going to kill a unit. So be it. It disappears. Fine.
Yeah, and that's fine. If he's willing to charge my trash at the front, that's great. But eventually, I'm going to have to put myself out in range of him being able to kill some of my tanks. And that's where I want to have something in the toolbox that can deal with it. Do I need one thing that can do that, or do I need two? I mean, in the perfect world, he charges a unit of Bulgrin, I heroic with another unit of Bulgrin, and my tanks are never touched. But those are pretty low fucking odds. So
Yes, it is.
yeah,
Yes,
because he has the 16 attacks, 14 attacks with the Bloodthirster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has 2 close combat weapons. Each with a strike and a sweep profile.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really like either one too much, but hopefully he just puts that on a Chaos Lord and he just charges his possessed up the board and he can pick them up all he wants. Because that is still scary, but a Bloodthirster to me, in my particular situation, is far worse to deal with. The possessed can't. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's easier to bog them down, at least. And they don't move as fast. It's easier to keep them screened. They're not flying over my lines off of a rapid ingress, you know?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't think you're wrong either way. I think Chosen is just fine. You could put Chosen with that as well. They do have a bigger, like, they could potentially wrap all the way around. So in terms of heroics, you could potentially avoid heroics easier with the Bloodthirster, because all you got to do is tag on one side, versus if you roll too high, you have to wrap it, and now you're getting heroic and stuff like that. So there is, positives and negatives both ways. So, but at the end of the day, it's what, a 25-point enhancement?
Yeah.
So a 25.
There's no way you're not taking it on something.
Well, yeah, you're taking it on something.
Yeah.
It's just like, so are you really giving that, or are you forcing your opponent into that bad of a position by, like, heroicing into a place where you normally would not heroic, letting them punch you in the mouth, potentially keeping them tied up for a turn, and then killing that unit for a 25-point enhancement? You can't let him do it twice. That's the thing. If he does, if that Chosen unit does it twice, where they come, like, they rapid ingress back down, and then they move, and then they charge, and then they pick up another thing, and they're allowed to disappear again, that is not good. I don't know how you recover from that game if if the trade actually just never happens. Oh, it's only 15 points?
Okay. All right. Yeah, we got Frank in the chat. He was the GT winner in February up here in Wyoming, and he is arguing that Fade should go on the Chosen and not the Thirster. All right. Yeah, a scout move on the Bloodthirster, I think, is still incredibly scary, for sure. Man. All right. Well, I am excited to see what you are bringing, Frank, to the RMO. Man, maybe we'll finally get a play. I never got to play Legion, but I don't want to play this either. Definitely not. I don't know. That's a topic of discussion. Who would you rather play, New Demons or Legion?
Oh,
that's a question.
It's New Legion. New Legion actually has some some thought behind it. It's got some good tools. It's interesting. There's so many different things that you can do with it. Like, I would much rather play it because it's more engaging of an army. Legions of Excess is like go forward, charge, kill whatever's in front of you, and then hope your keepers live, which they are relatively tough. So the majority of the time they annoyingly do.
Yeah. Well, they are not as tanky anymore. A 3-up save and losing a 5-up feel no pain is not a trade I would make any day. That is definitely a big nerf to the old keeper of the secrets, because oof.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I do think they're going to be a huge, not issue in the meta, but they are going to be a consistent thing. That new Shadow Legion is we are just like days into seeing it, and I've already seen some pretty incredible lists that I'm really interested to seeing like how far it gets taken. Because I just saw a list. We talked about it before after LVO of just like Nurgle Swarm with like as many max Nurglings as you could take. You played against it at
Yeah.
LVO, right? This list, so your Nurglings have -1 to wound pretty much all the time, guaranteed. Like they're only top 4, so you could have your swarm of Nurglings again that are even tougher now. In a game where you infiltrate them, and then you can make one of them scout. Like you can have, no, you can't. You have no characters I think that can attach to Nurglings, but that would be fun. But you infiltrate all these Nurglings, and you just like mass the board, and your opponent can't do anything, and they have to spend so much picking up Nurglings that a Great Unclean One sitting on an objective just does whatever it wants.
Yeah. I don't know. We've actually been theory crafting a list with my buddy Nick on my team, and yeah, it was like Be'lakor, Great Unclean One, 40 Pink Horrors, 36 Nurglings, a couple Beasts of Nurgle, and you just go, all right, try to remove me. It's just gonna feel awful to try to chew through all of that trash, dude. Like, you are, I don't know. I know he would be excited to play it, but it would take a lot of models and Nurglings. Oh man, I don't know. I would like to play into it, not at a GT. That would be great because I think that would be fun. But whew.
Frank, I am not bitter about our game. I am very pleased with that game. I Legions of Excess, I don't think actually needed. Now that I see these new detachments, I actually think they would have been better staying up with just the one slight change that I know, Lane and I have talked about before of just being like, if you're out of your shadow, it's reroll ones to hit, reroll ones to wound. If you're in your shadow, reroll all hits, reroll all wounds. Because I think that is all it needed, right? Just like a slight touch. Because for a lot of the stuff, you're in your shadow no matter what. It would have mattered for a few inconsequential units. You would have had to plan a little bit more. And I think in this meta, especially with Iniad, especially with Ironstorm, we kind of need that advance in charge boogeyman that is like out there threatening turn 1 and forcing those armies, those like heavy shooting armies. Like you actually have to put some consistent thought into what's going to happen when I like shove 3 keepers in your face, right? So I'm actually kind of disappointed with how far they've knocked off because I want like a combat boogeyman because I'll be honest, it's not World Eaters, it's not Blood Legion, it's not like the Corn Detachment. It's like Bile, and that's okay. Like they are that aggressive one, but they're not meta prevalent enough to cause an issue. But Legions of Excess was, and people were comfortable with it, and they're running it a lot. So I'm actually kind of disappointed, and I think it is going to shake up the meta when you don't have one of those really big boogeymen out there.
Yeah, I think that would actually be a super cool, like with those proposed changes to Legion, where they're still very, very, tough to deal with if you're not a melee army. Having that matchup into the new Shadow Legion, I would be very interested. I think that would be actually a pretty fun matchup. I do think you would probably bet on Shadow Legion in that particular matchup, but it still would be cool to have both viable in the meta.
I know, like big demons fighting each other, like that's awesome.
Yeah.
But then I want Grey Knights to be good. Like I think that's an army that, like, when it's good, it really shifts the meta in terms of just how mobile it is and stuff like that. And they are good. Don't get me wrong. Like it's a competitive army, but like we did with our tier list, they ended up in C tier because they are good. But holy crap, there's some armies that just do what they do better, and that's what people are running at the moment. So it is disappointing Ryan, I would love for them to bring back World Leaders, kind of for your sake. Um, and uh, they have all the tools, right? Like Advance and Charge. Angron needs probably a points drop a little bit. Um, and I I don't want to say a more consistent way to bring him back because I just don't want Angron like recurring every round, but maybe better, maybe better access to Corn Demons. Maybe when the World Leader Codex come out and they get access to Corn Demons in a more consistent way, where they
Oh
actually
man.
have like a good group of units to choose from. I think too many armies suffer from that when they get hit. Like Death Guard,
Yeah.
for example, we actually have quite a few units comparatively. The majority of them being characters, but when you have a lot of units to choose from, it is very hard to get knocked down.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. I think the other nice thing is if they do the 1,000 point demon detachment, we'll call it now. I don't want to see it though. Angron and two bloodthirsters running at you, flying over any screens you try to put down. Sounds like a fucking nightmare to me. But you know, uh, oh, all right. We got some more chats in here. Yes, Frank, I do agree. Yeah, a couple thirsters. It's same principle, right? Who you can't screen them out. They can just jump you. Oof. And then we got Austin in here. Talk about the ideal Votan list, please. All right. Let's see here. Ideal Votan right now. I think Oathband is definitely the way to go. It's still the index attachment. Can't go wrong with that. Two Hecaton land fortresses I feel like are still a must if you are going to be running the Votan. Ooh. Then let's see the Hearthkin Warriors, right?
Yep.
A couple just cheap scoring battle line units are great. Maybe two-ish units of bikes, at least probably 2 to 3 Sagittars for stuff to go in, and then
Uh, I'm even
um,
above that. I'm saying like 3 is the minimum I would take. I'm
yeah,
going like 4 or 5. I'd be okay. I think is almost necessary.
with the shift to how much melee and stuff there is, especially like just almost mono melee, transports are definitely gonna be a nice to have to throw on objectives for sure. So yeah, I can 100% get on board with that. You can still throw some things in your hecatons to do the same thing, but you're really gonna be wanting to get that board presence up early with Sagittars. Um, let's see, what are the like Terminator guys? Hearthguard,
Yep.
maybe some Hearthguard. Yeah, and then a couple characters with probably an enhancement or two, and I think you're at least on the right track. I don't have a list in front of me. Um, oh, all right. Cody did say Votan enjoyers in the chat. 18 bikes, 6 Sagittars, big brain plays. You just take all the trash, and that's the way. I mean, I can't argue with it. Play the primary, fuck everything else.
I do love the bikes. The redeploy is so solid. And honestly, if you have access to that, it is one of those things that like you have to be able to do, especially with Votan, because they do struggle mobility wise in terms of like getting around the board because their infantry isn't necessarily all that fast, so they're relying on their transports to go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get that. That makes sense to me in terms of difficulty. I have a couple lists for Votan. Let me pull one of them up because I think that would be beneficial for you. Um, of things that
All
I
right.
think
Well,
would be beneficial.
yeah. While you're pulling that up, I'm going to answer another quick question. We had Brandon asking who's winning RMO. Brandon, why not you, man? Have some faith. I believe. You know, Vanguard might have got done a little dirty on the Centurions, but you still got it. I don't know. Maybe you're switching it up. Phil might know. But if not, I would probably agree with Frank. Michael Mann playing New Orcs is probably a pretty damn good bet. Nick Risasco is our other choice, at least within our group, as far as our probably top picks to win it all this year. Playing some tough armies with some great players. They're just in really, really optimal spots to take it all.
Yeah, my vote is Nick. I think he can do it. I think this is the year for RMO, but anything can happen. We were talking about it with John Kill Comments when he was on. We were kind of explaining like your path to victory could be the most cakewalk ever. You could just luck out and get paired into the armies that you want to see, or taking care of the things that you want to see, and like you could have no issues all the way up into the final. And that's great. Now, with how big RMO is, right, that is even more possible because of the huge player base that's going to be there. It's over 200 players, right? There's always a possibility that you could avoid the matchups, or you could end up getting paired in a Michael Mann round one and being like, okay, well, I have a tough road ahead of me. I have to beat probably one of the best players in the country right now, and then go from there. And hopefully, we'll see. Yes, Brandon, Nick over Michael Mann. That is my hot take.
And
I
they
think
could
he can
never
do it.
play each other.
Or they could never play each other. That could
They could.
100% happen. You can go tell Michael. That's fine.
Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be super interesting. Hopefully we will get an interview with whoever wins it. Probably one of those two is our bet, but we'll hopefully have them on. They can talk all about it and run you through how they got so good at playing the best armies in the game. Yeah. To go back to your Votann list, though, why don't we jump back into that, and you can run us through what you have been cooking up.
Yeah, so this is actually Oathbound, is what I think potentially has some play, or I know has some play. So it's got Uthar, an Iron Master, with the whole crew all kitted out. We got two squads of Hearthkin Warriors, both 10 mans, and then one, two squads of Hearthguard.
Okay.
Yep. 2 squads of Hearthguard, and then a squad of Jaegers, a 10-man Jaegers, which I think is super important if you don't have them already. Like, they are your infiltrating unit, and you have to have it. I have found, playing into Votann often, that if you get your Sagittars, like, hemmed up and screamed up, it causes so many issues, especially if somebody prevents your scout moves, because you need that to be mobile, and you got to protect at least your natural. So you really need those Jaegers to protect yourself. Squad of Pioneers, and then two HLFs, 3 Sagittars, and that's 2,000 points right on the nose with a couple enhancements. So I think it's like Votann is really interesting right now because those additions to the amount of judgment tokens you can hand out is good, and you need those to survive. Like, you cannot play this game. Votann is not killing enough into the toughest armies in the game if you don't have those tokens. So yeah, I think it is good, and it will punk some armies. Like, my Genestealer cult don't want to see Leagues of Votann because they have so many shots. Like, they just pick up things for free. Like, even just the little 10-mans of warriors, right? Like, split into 2 5-mans, they will just pick up a squad, and you have to spend no time or investment killing my GSC, which I kind of really need you to do. But you have so many shots, like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and the other thing too, right? Like, what's the strength of your hand flamers is another reason why that matchup just, I feel like, isn't
strength
as good.
3.
Yeah, into T5 freaking warriors just running around. Yes, Cody, I should have not forgotten the Jaegers to start with. That is my bad. Oh man, thankfully Phil is here. He righted the ship, and yeah, we now have a fully brewed up Votann list for anybody who needs it.
Yeah, the problem with that is a 10-man Hearthguard deck can do it. The problem is they have to get there. They are not quick. So you have to, like, you're either rapid ingressing them, which doesn't necessarily feel great, but but it could be the option that you need to actually get them in combat with something meaningful. Unless you're playing as war leaders, because then they'll just give you Angron, and then you can go kill Angron.
Yes, classic world eaters, just always giving Angron away. Am I right? Oh man. All right. Yeah. Let's see. What else did we have on the docket today, Phil?
Well, we were going to go over a little bit of the meta right now, just
Oh,
in
yes.
terms of stat check and looking at like where we're at currently, because obviously Legions of Excess right now is still at the top of the leaderboard. But I think it's going to be really interesting if we were to remove them completely. Who jumps up there next in terms of like the next winningest army out there? So if you had to take a guess, if I remove Legions of Excess, who do you think is up there next?
Oh man. And this is pre-data slate, right? We don't have any of the data from the new detachments or anything like that
Correct.
still, right?
Correct.
Oh man. Um Doing hot? I don't know. I wanna say it's still probably like Space Marines or something, like Iron Storm for some fucking reason. It's just popping off. Just a wild
Well,
guess, dude. I don't know.
well, so if we were to not use player base as the metric in terms of
Hmm.
determining actual value, it's
Yeah.
Imperial Agents with one lunatic with
Just
that
running through
80%
people.
win. Yes, one person has now played
Hmm.
5 games. They have an 80% win rate, so they went 4-1. Um, and they are carrying Imperial Agents. But the next one up, which I think is something that you and I discussed when we did our meta check, was Imperial Knights. They have had a
Hmm.
string of really good successes that have stood out, and right behind them is Chaos Knights. So it's literally Imperial Knights, then Chaos Knights, and then Eldari is right behind them, kind of in that 57 to 54% win rate, which is right on
Yep.
the edge of being unhealthy. Like 57% is relatively high, especially for them. Uh, but it is quite interesting to think that the two mono skew factions, which when we were talking with John over the meta, our meta standards, right, in terms of what armies
Hmm.
actually stand a chance, we did have Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights up there quite heavily because of what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, I do think after the data slate, even where they're ranked now, being I'm still gonna call it second. Credit due to the Imperial Agents player who's holding it down, but the Knights are second in my opinion. That I think is gonna get hurt a lot because of orcs specifically, and a lot of these just a lot more melee focused things that are gonna be able to run at them, and I think deal with them pretty effectively. As well, I think they're going to suffer from that. Having orcs who can put out now a insane amount of shots and still at least make you take a ton of 4-ups. Generally, even if you rotate ion shields and things like that, like they're just going to be cranking out so many shots that I think knights are going to actually get bumped down a fair amount after the update.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, and
We
we've got some concurrence in the chat. Nice, awesome, sweet.
Lane, it's like you know what you're talking about, you absolute madman. Like
I know, dude. We're okay at this game,
we're not we're not
we
awful.
we
We
do all right.
we occasionally talk about things that are correct. So no, you're absolutely right. Like Knights has made a resurgence because I would say people are still using Iron Storm, but it's definitely shaded away. The majority of armies are getting closer and closer to that combat focused, short range stuff. And Imperial Knights, they have some great matchups, right? Like
Yeah.
with anti-fly 2-up, they see Blood Angels across the board, which we already know has a good player base. We know it's got the potential to win. Loves that. I think Imperial Knights is going to be a really interesting matchup in the Shadow Legion, depending on what we're seeing, right? Because if you take Bloodthirsters, or you're taking like Be'lakor, who has fly, and a bunch of these other big demons with wings who have fly, well, they have anti-fly 2-up, and that's going to really suck. They're going to force you to take an obnoxious amount of invul saves, and they're all going to be flat 3 damage, and it's not going to be fun, right? So that is it is, I think, favors Shadow Legion because they are mobile and they're much more mobile than Knights. But I don't
Yeah.
envy the poor demon that could sacrifice to go out there and die to Imperial Knights.
I think that actually brings up a really good question, and I'd like to hear maybe your opinion, obviously, Phil, and then maybe some people in the chat are some Chaos Knights players. But do you think that the Bloodthirsters that we're going to see on the table and some of the other, a fair amount of like flying transports and other things, is that enough as a Chaos Knights player to shy away from Carnivores and Brigands and start taking some of those dual autocannon? If I do remember correctly, they have anti-fly as well, correct?
I'll pull it up right now.
Double check us. I mean, no one. I haven't looked at these other data sheets in forever because you only take Brigands and Carnivores. But I feel like it might be worth it to take an Executioner. I think is the. No, dual autocannons. They do not have anti-fly. They have
They do not.
the autocannons, but they do not. All right, yeah, fuck that shit. You ain't taking it.
Frank making a
Fair
bold
enough.
statement.
All right.
They're gonna remove Knights from the meta. They're gonna be gone.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, if you run into them, it's not like there's a ton of demons players in our area or anything. Not a heavily represented faction here on the Front Range. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think in general, Knights are going to have a tougher time with what is good in the meta currently. They still definitely, just a couple of those top armies, they still are 100% capable of running it down, just being the skew that they are. But yeah.
But the players playing it to win and can shift off to something else will probably shift off them. Frank is right. Like the player base is finicky, right? Like you have probably 25% of a player base is like the guys and girls that love playing the faction. They love, that army and they're going to stick with it no matter what. We have a few players like that in our community that are just like they want to play their army and they don't care how bad it is. They will run it until it's actually gone, like the faction is removed from it. But then there are players that are playing it because they see it as a competitive army and they want to play it in their meta, or they think it's got a good chance of winning, or whatever the case is. That's the percentage that's going to leave, right? That's the percentage that's going to swap armies because as Frank is saying, they're going to see the first time that Bloodthirster goes into Canis, kills it, disappears, and they're just like, I'm done. I'm not doing this ever again. Like,
yeah.
I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this no more. I changed my mind. I will switch armies, right? Which kind of sucks because you don't want an army to like drop like that. But I can say with confidence, I've seen it happen. Like Custodes, before the Codex came out, before Solar Spearhead, after they nerfed one of our factions, right? The player rate just dropped because everyone that was running that faction that was playing it in the way that I was just explaining, we're just like, well, it's not good enough now. I want to swap to something else. While the majority of your diehards, will stay on that faction. So each one's a little different.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see to check kind of where they're at on like number of games ish played to where they go to here in a couple weeks after the meta has really set in. See how many people do shift off of some of these armies. I'm curious if we're even going to have more players playing Legion of Excess or Imperial Agents after 2 weeks. That's actually going to be a close stat now on how many people play those two armies.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think the meta is going to shift dramatically to either compensate and people going to Orcs, people going to Custodes, people going to Shadow Legion. I don't think many people are going to go to Tau, but John and all those diehard Tau players will play this, and he seems like he has a good plan. It's going into RMO now. That I don't envy that matchup into some of these top detachments, but he is an incredible player, and I have no doubts he's going to have a plan for each of them. But how the meta shifts around, okay, now I have to kill 3 bricks of Ludas. Do I have the capabilities to kill 3 bricks of Ludas? And if I don't, what's my solution to that? Do I have Lone Op? Which is not even going to be good enough anymore, honestly, because when their entire army has Assault, and they just move and shoot the crap out of you, like, that's not the solution. I'm sorry, it's not, right? So, Frank, I do think you're right. But maybe that's my gold tinted glasses that I'm looking through in terms of Custodes, because I do want them to be really good, and I know this detachment is good. I know it is. I've already had 3 games with it, and it feels the strongest that I've had Custodes in a while. And I wasn't a huge fan of Solar Spearhead. Like, I love the Dreadnoughts. I have every single one of them in multiples, but um, I really think there's going to be some bad matchups for those Custodes. But you have to be pretty straightforward in terms of your skill level regarding it. Because, like, do you still run 2 Caladiuses? I'm back and forth about it because you kind of need long range shooting. I just ran a list that had 4 Custodian Guard units, and those guys with advance and charge from the Blade Champ are really nice. I love Draxus. She's still really good, and I've been running the new Inquisitor Cotiez. I don't have the new model. I have the old one because I hate the new model, but um, he is also really good. I like him a lot in this detachment.
Yeah, I do think the Lions detachment is going to see quite a bit of play, man. I don't feel like it has too many bad matchups though, man. I'm pretty excited to see how you do with it.
Those
Maybe
looters
even
scare
at
me.
teams coming up. Oh yeah, there's some of them that just if they don't scare you, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about because there's some gross ass shit out there right now.
Yeah.
But that's great. It's a fun Wild West game again. The meta was pretty stale. I felt like back in the October data slate. That little shakeup helped, but between the Grotmus detachment and this one, I actually feel like there's just a lot of variety of stuff you can see, different play styles, and it's all very viable. Some of it's a little strong right now, but eh, what are you gonna do? Wait 3 months? Yep.
Well, like if we looked at top of the meta before, like when we did our meta challenge, it was Orcs, Eldari, Deathwatch, Gene Stealer Cult, and Custodes were the 5 that were at the top. That's pretty good for like S tier armies that have capabilities to go out and win a GT or win an open, right? To go 5-1 or 6-0. So the fact that those armies have
Mhm.
the potential, and we have 5 armies that can do that, I think that's pretty good. And then we have other armies that can do that as well. It's just going to be a little bit tougher for them, but they're right there. So
Mhm.
I don't know how oppressive the new orcs will be. I don't think it's going to be great for the meta. But then I could say the same thing about Custodes. Like, man, +1 to wound on an army that's pretty much strength 7 is awesome. And then my strength 4 shooting now suddenly gets so much better because I'm wounding everything on like 4s pretty much of the stuff that I actually need to shoot into, which is really nice
Yeah.
for 2 damage
So
shots.
make sure if you do run into Phil, stay grouped together, so he can't come fight you and get +1 to wound. Just make sure you're deathballing all over the map. It'd be awful if he got those +1s to wound. So really just make him have to commit to
Oh no
you
no no! It's I
or,
have to be 6 inches away from my other units.
Right. Yeah, I know. But you can play demons and just be like, well, I'm going to put all of my demons together. He can still just heroic. You might get +1 to wound on one unit, but then whoom, they're dead. They
Okay.
ate them.
That's
You
fair.
know.
You're saying you grouping up would cause me to group up. I get that.
Yes, either yeah, because either you don't deal with the death ball that's running towards you as a custodes player, or you do, and you forego your +1 to wound. Just food for thought.
You could try. You could try that. You could try that.
It's very matchup dependent. I'm just trying to fuck with Phil. Don't just as a whole decide to put all of your army out in the middle just because Lane said some shit. Um, yes, Frank, it is very sad. Your booby girls will have to go on the shelf behind the toilet you are probably still sitting on, as mentioned at the start of the show. Uh, but hey, they'll never not be sexy, and that
Yeah.
that is the real true thing of why to collect Slanesh, right?
At least you could still run some demons. At least like
You can.
that was the only detachment that was like the strongest, but now a Shadow Legion is great. I think with the upgrades to Nurgle demons, so a bunch of the Nurgle demon data sheets improved. So I think like just pure Nurgle demons I think either in Shadow Legion or in something else in its own detachment, I think is really solid.
Mhm.
And I think that is a meta manipulator as well, because in terms of the amount of battle shocks it forces its opposition to make, the fact that I can just like straight up pick up models, like it could pick up my 50 plus point models for Custodian Guard just because I fail a battle shock at -2. That is
Mhm.
not good. That I can't lose a Custodian Guard off just a failed battle shock. And now those units have gotten better. Like Great and Clean ones are tougher. They have better attacks. They do all this stuff that's better. So
Yeah, I am super curious. I do want to see somebody run the tanky skew of Shadow Legion. I do want to see somebody take that to a GT, and see just how hard it is to deal with -1 to hit pink horrors in mass, -1 to wound great unclean ones, nurglings, and just, oh man, I feel like that would actually give quite a few people problems.
it would 100%. And like I said, it's gonna manipulate the meta because if like you even have 2 or 3 people that are playing it, right? Like it's gonna have an effect. So it is really interesting and another good army. And I think it just shows how diverse like competitive 40K is right now. Um, but we'll see. We will
Yeah,
see.
maybe we can convince Bo to just make that small shift and switch over to Shadow Legion with all of his Nurgle, and I don't know. I want to see that army ran. But yeah, even Plague Legion is just as where it stands is going to be very good. I think demons are in a good spot for sure.
Yeah. No, Bo's already been posting lists. He's so excited with the changes. Bo is one of our individuals. You guys, if you've watched the video, saw us bring Bo on talking about the Thundercluckers community and in Colorado Springs and kind of what he's been doing there, as well as talking about Plague Legion, which, once again, got a nice little buff with all the detachment increases. And there is some serious, serious value there. Um, so, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. He was doing Plague Legion before it was cool, and it is definitely cool
That's
now.
true.
I think we're going to see a lot more of it coming up in the meta for sure.
All
Oh
right,
man.
Lane, you got to tell me what's on the hobby table recently. What have you been working on? Have you had any hobbying time? Have you been able to paint anything or build anything?
So I recently got some rattlings. I After LVO we talked about that. I
Mm.
realized the folly of my mistakes of trying to risk it and not take an infiltrate unit, thinking I'd be okay, and then I had 54 nurglings shoved up my ass, um, and I was like, well, never again. So I got those in, making sure I can take up that space. Because yeah, LVO, I thought I'd be fine, be able to risk it, and not run into any jail lists, and I ran into two. So just not risking that. I got that. I need to get them painted. They are all built. I got a third Dorn while we were at LVO,
Yeah, I'm
and
far from that.
yep. So I have that all built. I need to and primed. I got to go back and I got to get the final layers on and get that ready for LVO. But I think that's all I have to get done this next week. So feeling pretty good about it. Pretty light work, I would say. I know obviously you unfortunately can't make it to RMO, but has there been anything you have been building lately?
Yeah, so I finished up my Death Watch. I magnetized all the missile launchers on all the Death Watch Terminators, which has is something I enjoy doing. Like I try to magnetize best when I can because I think it's one of those things that like Warhammer's expensive, and I try to avoid buying new models if I don't have to. So they've all been magged up; they're ready to go. I'm probably going to take this time to get them based and knock out all my airbrushing on them because they're pretty much lined up, ready to go. I've already did my test scheme for how I'm going to paint them. I have my own custom Space Marine chapter, so we'll go from there, and then yeah, I'm gonna knock them out. I have a few basing things I needed to do for my custodies because I have all my custodies are fully painted. I just have a couple custodian guard that I've built the bases. I've done them all. There's actually one right here. Um, he's done. He's painted. I just gotta do the base.
Yeah.
So the base is very easy. I can knock it out with an airbrush. But now that I have to run like I'm looking at running like 20 guard, custodian guard, I gotta knock them out so they're ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof, man. Not too bad. I think because with the addition of Deathwatch, you're up to how many armies now, Phil?
Deathwatch, GSC, Custodes, Death Guard, Astra Militarum. 5 armies.
5 armies. Oh, okay.
5 armies. But my Astra Militarum is pure for the meme. I'll show you.
It's just waiting on Scions to live again with Valkyries not being ass.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
it's pure air cav. I have Valkyries, I have Vendettas, I have all the gunships. I have 5 gunships. Yeah, 5. And so I have 2 Vultures and 3 Vendetta Valkyries that are magged up, ready to go. So like it's a pure meme army. I love it. It's so cool. It's like, yeah, I play it just for fun, but it
Yeah.
brings me a lot of joy.
All the models that old Jimothy Workshop is trying to kill.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, any flyers, get them out of here. They'll be dead by 11th edition. Oh man, I hope not. We'll see. We'll see.
Frank, you
people
are
shouldn't
right.
sleep on.
Deathwatch is spicy. It is. I haven't not lost a game with them yet, and it's just like those bricks of kill teams are so versatile, and they're so tough, and it just like comes down and it kills everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whew. They just do the things. They do it well. The new choose your flavor for your turn, whether it's the precision, right, or was it lethals and sustains, right? Your 3 choices.
Correct.
Yeah. They just whatever you need, they got you.
Correct. And the stratagems are good to get +1 AP or increase your range by 6 inches or strip cover. It is obnoxious. But the Indominus kill team is what carries that army, because if they're targeting the closest eligible unit, all the shooting units get +2 strength. Like all the shooting weapons get +2 strength. So that means your flamers are going up to strength 6. Yeah, I think so. Strength 4 to strength 6. Your Meltas are going up to strength 11. Like, it is obnoxious. And like all the bolters and heavy bolters are flat damage 2 or flat damage 3. For the Deathwatch heavy bolters. So, and then you have so much efficiency with stratagems because you're running usually a Watchmaster and a Gravis Captain. So and those are separate named abilities, so you can use them both in the same turn. So 2 of your strats are free. You're picking up one of those units at the end of the fight phase, your opponent's fight phase. So, holy cow. That is an obnoxious army. But the player base is so small that you may play a whole tournament and not see Deathwatch, or you may never see Deathwatch in your local community until you go to a big tournament, and then you run face first into it and be like, "Oh, I thought they were just Space Marines." They're not just Space Marines.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. They seem fairly vanilla, and then you get into what all those kill teams are bringing, and you're like, God damn! Like, there's so much shit in there, man. So many different profiles, and they all slap. Especially like you're saying on the Indominus. If you're close, extra strength, man, they become very, very efficient at killing whatever they are aiming at.
Correct.
Yeah, awesome. One of the other things we definitely wanted to do is kind of pick your brain as an audience and see what kind of maybe tips videos or maybe breakdowns of detachments, things like that. What are y'all wanting to see? So please throw that in the chat as we are continuing with the remainder of the video, and we'll make sure we start looking into it. Phil, you're not going to make it to RMO. What are you the most excited about after you get back from your trip?
Yeah, so I have 3 tournaments lined up for April. I got one in Colorado Springs. I got one up in Denver, and then I'm gonna be traveling for one as well. So April's kind of going to be a big month in terms of trying to make up in terms of points wise for my missed opportunity at RMO. So I am really looking forward to that. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to some good hobbying. So my airbrush is ready to go when I get back from my trip. We're gonna knock out my Deathwatch, so they're tabletop ready, which is gonna be good. I am looking forward to paint them up because I've done a lot of conversions with them in terms of like skulls and chains and chaos bits. Because my Space Marines have a little bit gone off the rails since they've been hanging out in the middle of nowhere. They've kind of been left to their own devices. So they've made some interesting decisions in their life. The Inquisition would not be happy. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm excited to paint them up. I'm looking forward to the new detachments, or sort of the new codexes that are going to come out this summer. It feels like they're right around the corner in terms of potentially what we're going to get. And based on the new Emperor's Children codex, yeah, like I want to play into that. And we have a few guys in the community that have been running that. Frank being one of them, and Matt being another, that have really enjoyed, playing that army. So I'm really looking forward to playing into it. So that should be good as well.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we are going to have those two fine gentlemen back in from Strat Reserve to do a Codex breakdown with us. That'll be coming this next week as well. So look forward to that. It's going to have everything you need to know about the newest faction in Chaos. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and those models look really cool. Like, I can't wait for the new Fulgrim. Like, that model on the board is going to be really neat. I can't wait to see it painted up and stuff like that, because I know we have a couple incredible painters here in the community as well that are going to paint up Fulgrim, and I think he's going to look really, really cool.
Yeah.
Not as cool as your Magnus, but yes, cool.
What can you do? I don't know. Matt's Fulgrim, I bet, looks pretty damn spicy by the time he gets finished. So we'll have to see. It'll be cool to hopefully, if we can get some stream games going eventually, it'll be cool to have some of these Primarchs all painted up in their glory out on the board for everyone to see. And even if not, we'll make sure we get some pictures of them at just some games between the friends and the boys. So
yeah, for sure, absolutely. For those that are in here, I just want to express it again. Maybe you weren't here for the beginning of the stream, but we just want to thank you all for supporting us and watching the videos and stuff like that. The fact that we're already at 100 subscribers is so cool, and we can't wait to carry this further. So Armo is going to be a big weekend for Lane, because I won't be here, and he's going to do all the videos and recordings and stuff like that, but I'll still be tuning on while he's doing all that. We'll still have videos that we're going to be pumping up while I'm out of the country for work, but we still have plans, and we are ready to go and looking forward to a really big part of the 40K season, which is going to be one of the first big tournaments with the updates to the data slate.
Yeah, it should be great. I can't wait. Armo's going to be a fun time. We're hopefully going to get some good interviews with some great players. And after that, we're going to start prepping ourselves and the rest of y'all for what the whole team's environment looks like, and, kind of what that event is going to look like coming up in about 2 months.
End of May.
Yeah, about end of May. So we'll be grinding that out. We're hopefully going to have some more of our teammates on. We'll have some of those great local painters, as Phil was talking about, to kind of show off some of their work and help give you some tips as well on how to maybe, take it to just that next level. There are a fair amount of us in the community that like to skate by at that 3-color minimum. But we'll pump it up a bit. And yes, Brian, the plan is to come down Friday night and stay in Denver beforehand. Yeah. Oof, man. I am excited though for RMO. We'll see. Obviously shooting for the stars. We're going for the 6-0, but 4-2 I'll be happy with for sure. 5-1 I think is always just a reasonable goal. Try and hit that again. Would be the RMO 5-1 is even cooler than the GT 5-1 from October. So hopefully be able to add that to the resume. And man, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
is that a super chat? I just had a chat fly across my screen. Are we there already? Are we that cool?
We are not that cool. So you can show the messages on the stream.
Okay. You're just fucking with me, Phil.
I was just fucking with you. I got you all excited that somebody cares about us enough. Do
I know,
not
man.
give us money. We have not done anything to deserve that yet. We are just talking about 40K. Um,
Yeah.
it will be okay.
Yeah, that is great to know, Brian. I would actually really love to go and talk to Joe and get an interview with him, and that would be great. Get an interview with you. You are planning to judge, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, for RMO. Uh, so gonna just wait a little for the delay. All right, moving on. He'll get back to us. Yeah, hopefully it'd be great to talk to Joe. We'll talk to some of the other uh, people who just have booths and stands there, some of the sponsors, things like that. Oh, yep. Yes, you are. You are going to be judging. Hell yes, Brian. As long as your rulings go in my favor, I won't interview you. No, just kidding. I won't force you to come on. No, we'll definitely have to sit down, have some beers. Brian is a great member of the community. He is kind enough to not only judge, but to bring beers while doing so and help get players a little tipsy as they enjoy some 40K. Can't ask for much more than that. That is for sure.
Yeah. I'm curious, Lane. I would love your prediction on it. What is
Okay.
going to be the most amount of player, like the largest player base at RMO? So we haven't seen lists drop yet. They haven't been submitted yet. We still got a couple more days before that closes out. But if it's Space Marines, like the Space Marines factions are separate. So Blood Angels is separate, Dark Angels is separate.
Okay.
What's going to be the most amount of the largest player base, and then what's going to be the smallest player base?
Not including Imperial agents, because I think that's a freebie. We can't.
Okay,
I don't
that
want to
is a
say that.
freebie, yeah.
Right. All right. So the most played, man. I feel like there's. Oh man, I want to say I think it's orcs. I really do. I think there's enough people who just enjoy the faction, and there's still plenty of playstyles besides Mordaka that you're gonna see ran. Like I like tactical definitely took a nerf. I still don't think it's a bad way to play. It just is objectively worse than Mordaka if you have those units, right? Um, I don't know. Yeah, I think my money's on orcs. I think there's just quite a few players in the area that play it already, and I know there's some out of staters bringing it. So yeah, orcs for the most played, and then for the least played, oh man, army specific, not faction specific, because then I'd say Legion, or maybe Bridgehead. Those two, no one's running them after this last week.
Well, is it going to be 0? Because we need at least one.
You need at least one.
Yeah.
3 whirlwinds and desolators will likely be the most common archetype. I mean, I hope there are plenty of those players out there so they can, like, if I'm on a win path and you could just knock out some of those Eldar players and such with all your indirect fire, I would appreciate that. I don't really want to see it. But if I were to bet, oh man, least played, Drukhari. It's got to be Drukhari.
Is anyone going to actually run it?
I don't think so. The Drukhari players we know are going to be running Eldar, quote unquote, because of Ynnari. So if we have 1 or 2 Drukhari players, that is like got to be the max. It just has to be.
Okay.
What about you? What's your take? Do you think I'm close? Do you agree?
I think you're close. I think, man, like Space Marines feels too easy. It does feel like that's going to be like Ultramarines, right? Like whatever flavor of Marnius, Gilliman, and the boys. I think that's still going to be number 1. I still think there's going to be a lot of orc players out there, but I think just generic Space Marines are going to still be up there because it's still really, really good. I think GSC is going to be one of the least played factions, mainly because I know all the GSC players in our community, and I'm not going to be there. And Patrick
Yep.
Love is not playing GSC; he's definitely playing Demons.
Yep.
And besides the two of us, there's not many other people that play GSC. And then with the slight change to Host of Ascension in terms of that 15 points, you might only
Mhm.
have one or two people that are still playing either Final Day or they're still playing Host with some tweaks. Oh, if the points
Yeah.
change. So I think that's probably, I think we'll catch one player, and I think like one or two players, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
Because my
I
initial
think I
thought was
think
like Plague Legion, but I think there's going to be a few people that bring it. Like I know Bo's bringing it, and I know there's probably
yeah,
going to be a few more because that is actually good now.
it's gonna be good. I'm gonna be real excited to see how Bo does. My prediction is 4-2. I'm just while we're making predictions out here, I think Bo Cephas shall go 4-2. I
He
think
would
he's
love to
definitely
hear
got
that.
that in him. Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. I got faith. And Matt, you've won enough RTTs, man. Go get a podium. I believe. I believe in you, buddy. I know you're at work right now and you'll have to watch this later, but this is for you, man. I believe. Just don't run into Michael or Nick and you got a shot.
He had enough
Yeah.
bad luck during, in terms of pairings during the Open at the
Yeah.
end of December. So he will have hopefully better luck in terms of pairings and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, that's there's gonna be so many good players at this Open. Uh,
Yeah.
we said it in like one of our original videos, but I am confident, and I can say that I would say we have the best competitive 40K community in the United States. And if you have doubts about that, sign up. Come to RMO. Come to one of the Denver Fight Club Opens that are 100 plus players, right? Like, and we pack out RTTs of 50 members, of 25 members, easy.
Yeah.
And they are all competitive players that are great to play with and play against. So, this tournament, super disappointed that I'm not going to be there. But I can say with confidence that whoever comes out of this and that finishes 6-0 is going to be one of the best players in the nation, right? In terms of being able to win a tournament like this, with just like it is a blender in there in terms of the amount of players that are either representatives of their state or of top teams in the United States, or even just like top 100 in terms of USA leaderboard, right? We keep bringing up Michael Mann. He is definitely up there because he is an incredible player and will continue to do so. So, Andre, you think Deathwatch? We'll see how many Deathwatch players there are. I think that's going to be an interesting one as well. How many people actually took the time to build, paint, like everything you need to win with Deathwatch?
I think we're going to see 2 to 3 Deathwatch players. I think we'll probably end up still seeing them. I think it's at least more likely than Drukari or maybe GSC. Yeah. Oh man. Let's see. What else we got here? All right. No way you can go 6-0. Come on. You got to believe, Ryan. You got to believe. I believe in you. You can do it.
But
Don't
that's the
dream
thing.
it. Do it.
Ryan doesn't even want to go 6-0. He wants to win Best Painted because if he wanted to go 6-0, he would rip out 60 Ludas right now and paint them all. But he actually cares more about Best Painted. So don't tell me, Ryan, that you think you stand a chance of not winning. Like, if you wanted to, you could, but you want Best Painted, and that's fair because your orcs are incredibly well done.
Yeah. Yes, they look fantastic. And, if nothing else, you can go back to back on getting a golden ticket for the best overall. That is a hell of an achievement. So, I mean,
Yes.
shoot for it, dude, for sure. Joel isn't running the new orcs. He is still good enough to win it, though. But that is very true. I mean, he took the January Open, like it was. I mean, not like it was nothing. It was hard as hell to do.
He had some very close games.
That podium was so spicy
It was.
in January.
Yeah, because he beat
man.
me in the second to last game, so that was I think I only lost by 7. It was very tight, very close. He played a few 40K Fight Club members, and all of those games were close. But that Green Tide list, so he is a master at running it. And we've talked about this before when we were talking with Nick about Drakari, right? Like, there is a line for a skilled player being able to take a list past its expected potential because of the player skill. Joel is definitely one of those dudes because he is efficient with his Green Tide. And honestly, it's got some really good matchups, right? The new Iniad does not want to see big squads of 20 boys that all have a 5-up Invo, 5-up Feel No Pain, because you know how much it takes to chew through all of that? And he doesn't care about charging into you and you fighting him first. He's still going to live through it and then kill you back. So, like, because you just got so many dumb bodies.
Yeah. All right, Joel, you heard it here. It is on you to try to stop Nick from reaching the top. So, Brian, do your judging fairly as you must, but don't be re-rolling no pairings if you see that. So, I'm just kidding. And Ryan, excuses like that, $300 for 30 Ludas, $300 for glory, my friend. $300 for glory. Yes, and I do agree, Frankie. I have seen close to what Ryan is planning to take, and it is still spicy as hell. So there are definitely going to be some people who do not enjoy that Wa turn with Warhorde running right at them. That is for sure.
Yeah, definitely got some tools. Man. Definitely got some tools.
Yeah. Ooh. Man, yeah, it's going to be a blast. I'm super excited. It's always good to just go to these events, and whether you win or lose at the games, there's always just it's not only a very good competitive community, it is a great community in terms of just getting to hang out with friends. Everybody's super friendly, great to talk to, always good to catch up, and have some beers. Thanks to Brian, can't say thank you enough for keeping me half cut through the afternoons. It really does. It's really just a great time. Always happy to come play some 40K.
Yeah.
And yes, Ryan, every time you dump all of your guys out of your transports and go boom, suddenly salad, you're whying. People do not enjoy that, man. You're right in their biscuits. And you won't get out. Get out of our biscuits, Ryan. That's all we ask.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I do think that's fair. If I was a betting man, if I needed to put money on something, Orcs with the large player base and everything like that, they definitely stand a good chance of winning this tournament, no matter who's running it, right? Like there are some individuals that are very, very good that are going to be at those top tables, that are going to be competitive and stuff like that. So we will see. We will see, and I can't wait because I'll be tuning in on the live stream from War Games Live to see how great everyone is playing. So yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, it should be a blast. It's too bad you won't be able to be there, but you'll be with us in spirit. Maybe we'll get some streams from you and your work conference to really let the people know what they're missing out on, while we get to show you what you're missing out on. Really just set the tone. Oh man. Yeah, it's going to be great. I don't know. Do we have too much left that we are hoping to discuss today? Phil, I don't, I could ramble on about 40K for forever. So, cut me off if I'm getting there. So,
no, I think that's pretty good. We spent about an hour on this. People have came in and out and just having questions and wanting to chat. So I think for celebrating 100 viewers, or 100 subscribers, this is great. This is exactly what I wanted, and we wanted to kind of just thank all of you for taking the time and watching some videos. We have more content coming shortly. The next one that will be coming up is the Emperor's Children. We have both Matt and Frank coming on as faction experts because they are both building and painting and speed running as many games as possible of Emperor's Children as they get ready for RMO. Because I know for Frank, there's a potential that he takes Emperor's Children. And I know for Matt, it is like his first army, his first love was Emperor's Children. And he's going to run that as well.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely get to see, at least by teams at the very latest, Matt will have that on the board and be running people down with his lousy or noisy Marines, I should say.
Yeah, there you go.
Should be yeah. Should be great. Can't wait. Other than that, yeah, expect good coverage. We're going to try to get plenty of interviews from people who are at RMO. Hopefully, get lined up with the winner, whoever that may be, to get an interview. And it's just going to be a fun time. And we can't, hopefully, we'll get to see you all there. Don't be afraid to come up and say hi. Phil will really appreciate it if you're bugging me, and that will be awesome. I do actually want to get to see as many of you as I can and get to talk some 40K. It's going to be a great weekend. We have plenty more to come. And do not forget, everyone, that victory isn't given. It's forged, and it's forged right here on Mastercrafted. We will see you all next time.